everyone, welcome to my YouTube channel, and in today's video we are going to be replacing the upper dashboard trim. So that trim is this piece on the top of your dashboard, and it consists of two pieces. There is a large one on the right side and there is a smaller one on the left side. And like I said, in today's video I'm going to show you how to remove this trim. I guess the removal is the most important part to it, so the essence of this video is going to be how to remove this trim, because the reinstallation and replacement is basically what you do after that, and that's usually just you do it in the reversed order. So like I said, this trim consists of two pieces. One is large, and I have the replacement part here. This is the replacement trim piece, the long one, and there is a short one that is on the left side of the steering wheel, and this is the one that I already removed and replaced. And this one is easy and there's nothing special to it. The center piece, the large one, is a little bit more difficult to get off the dash, and I guess I'm going to start with showing the back side of it. And what we have is ventilation in the center of the trim and on the right side, and we also have the engine and the ignition button on the left side. That's what this trim looks like. What's important is that it is held in place by these pins or pegs, whatever you call them. There are 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5 of them, and that's pretty much all that holds this trim to the dash. There is no screws, there is nothing hidden. So basically, in essence, what you have to do, you have to get a hold of this trim and just peel it off or pull it off, whichever you like. So the two things is this ventilation grill on the right side, and there is this one in the center. And I guess the center one is the one that's important because it's got a couple of switches and buttons, so you would have wires going to it. And the same with the start stop and the ignition button, that would have some wires going to it. So once you will see that once you get this off, you don't really have much of a wire length to really remove it like further than the wires allow you. Basically, that's the bottom line. You may want to use screwdrivers and such, but I prefer to use this plastic trim removal tool. In essence, you need something that is plastic so you don't damage your dash or don't scratch things with a metal screwdriver. Besides, small and narrow things, if you try to push them into gaps and all, they will definitely do damage. You have a couple of options, but in essence what you have to do, you have to start from the right side or from the left side, and you have to get this tool basically behind the trim like this and start pulling on this, like I said, on the right side or on the left side. Can you really start somewhere here? No, because of the shape of the dashboard. Can you really start on the bottom here? Well, you kind of could, but again, in my experience, that's not the best way to do it. So I usually start on this side. So basically, I'm going to push this tool here, and this is a close-up between the dash and the trim, and I'm going to push it in, and I'm going to start with this side. This one is tight. I need two hands, but you get the idea. You just have to push this tool into the gap between the dash and the trim and start pulling it off towards you. I'm going to gently tap this in, and then basically just keep it in and start gently pulling on it. It's not always easy. It's not always easy, like I said, but you really don't have many options because this is the only way to do it. This one is tight. So it's been a while since I removed this trim, and I might have forgotten a thing or two, but this trim is super tight. So I got another tool that is like this, and this one has basically a hole that you can really pull on because this trim is tight. And I guess I'm going to push this in again, and you can help with the second tool, and just, I guess, since the second pin is right here, so you can actually, well, I hate doing that because, well, even though this is a plastic, then but pushing things into no gaps, places, is no fun at all. And when you hear things cracking, that's not a good sign, really. This one is tight. I don't know what the deal is. That's another way of doing it, but you're risking damaging the dash itself when you do that. And that's always a bad idea, because you really don't want to replace your dashboard. You can see how this tool is actually in, but that doesn't help a whole lot. And this thing is really tight. Like I said, I don't know what the deal is. I hope I don't do any damage. I have removed this multiple times, but I don't know what the deal is this time. Something is really tight here. And at this point I have a bit of a gap. I can't stick my fingers into that gap. That doesn't help a whole lot. Really don't know what the deal is. But you may actually be in the same situation, so I'm not going to skip, and I'm going to keep rolling the camera so you see all the struggle and all the damage, if I do any. See, at this point I have a bit of a gap on the bottom. I don't know honestly why it's so tight, because it wasn't like this before, and I didn't do anything, and the only thing that holds the trim in place is these pins. Well, at this point it seems like the left side is actually separating, so I guess I will pull this side and it's out. And at this point you don't want to rip it off completely, because there are wires. You have to be aware of that. And maybe that's the way to do it. Maybe you start on the left side. I don't know. Maybe your dash or trim is different. But this one is really tight on the right side. And like I said, I'm going to keep rolling the camera, and so you can see all the struggle. Not like some of those videos where people just show like, well, you stick the removal tool in this gap and you remove it, and then the next frame of that video that you see is just the trim being off. That's usually not a good way of explaining things to people, because people need to know what kind of a struggle you're going to have. And it's all about those pins that are, well, specifically one pin on the right side. There you go. So what was the deal? I honestly don't know. And at this point you can see that this vent separated, which is a good thing on one hand, because it has to actually be taken off this trim and transferred to this. And now you can see how much this thing allows you to really have a gap, how much of a gap it actually lets you have. And as you can see, there are wires that go to these buttons right here. That's the wires, and there's a cable actually that goes to the start button right there, and that's the length. So you really have to disconnect those wires before you can proceed with the removal. And that's the next thing that we will do. Now I'm going to get to the wires, and that's the thing that I don't remember again, how you do it. And I need to really look. So this connector, it seems like we can squeeze the sides, and that's what you do, you squeeze the sides of this connector and it separates. And this one, you cannot get to that connector from the top. Honestly, I just don't remember things like this. Now there's one connector, part of it, and I just pushed and I just pulled it and it came out. So the other half is also on the top. And now once you disconnect the wires, you're going to really be able to, you will be able to remove this trim. So as you can see, there's the start button connector, and this is the connector I I'm going to do a close-up. As you can see on this connector, it's 2 tabs on the sides that you just push, like squeeze them, and that comes out of the start-stop button switch. So now this cable in the center is actually 2 connectors, not 1. And these connectors, as you can see, don't have any tabs or anything. There's like a locking tab right here. But these come out by just pulling them out of the sockets. So, and that's the length of the cable. So it's not a whole lot. And this is what the start-stop button on the back side looks like. And these are the 2 connectors. And now to install this trim, we have to transfer this, the start-stop button, and this thing to our new trim piece. The center piece is installed with 2 nuts, and they are 8mm. Here's one. Here is another one on this side. And what else? And there are some plastics here. I think those you just I guess, yeah, right here, those you have to just lift up. And this button, it also has like 2 tabs. You basically just push it out, and this one may be tight because it's got fabric, so it's a little bit tight, but otherwise it's just you push it out. But is there a tab? I think there is a tab on the top that you have to push. It's supposed to just come out like that. There it is. So now this one we can just transfer to this trim. Well, let's get this piece removed. And like I said, 8mm nuts, 2 of them on this side, and there is an 8mm nut on this side. And then this, it's still going to stay in place because there's a bunch of plastic tabs that you have to start lifting up. Yeah, there is plenty of those. You kind of have to lift them all up, like one by one, and keep applying pressure. Whew. It's always a struggle. That's why I don't like dealing with the interior. Well, that's the idea in general. I'm just not going to, like I said, it is a suffering, but I hate stopping the camera and just saying that, well, you just do that and it comes off, but because you really need to see the struggle. I guess it's always fun to see when people struggle. Not easy, and you cannot just pull it off because all those tabs, they are really holding this thing in place. And you can see, you can start like with this edge and have one, and then keep applying pressure. This one and this one. There you go. So you can see how these tabs here are separating, but it's only on one side because now we also have to deal with the other side. And I guess the same idea. It's the same idea with this side. And you have to do them all, because if you don't, if you miss one or skip one, the thing is not going to really come off. And there you go. So once you have successfully separated this, I have not scratched anything, I have not broken any tabs. So these are the tabs basically right here. There's this here and here and here, 1 to 8. And the same on the bottom, 1 to 8. And 2 nuts. So this is the center trim, and like I said in the previous video where I was talking about door trim, this is the piece that is actually metal. So this is an aluminum alloy, and now we will, I guess we can start with this button, and it just goes in like so. You just push it and it's supposed to just click in place. There is a tab. Yeah, this thing has tabs. I forgot about it because they are broken. Like there's a tab on this side and there is no tab on this side, so I have to really replace this. I think we can just put this one in, and this one just slides to this side, to the right, and then it just clips in place. And this one, yeah, definitely some of these tabs are broken. Now for the big thing, this just slides over, tabs line up, and everything just clicks in place. You just push it. Now the reassemblies is much easier because the tabs just click in place. I'll install these two nuts right here and right here. We make it fairly tight. You don't want to over torque these because it's all plastics here, like so. I think I need to source out a new start stop button. Now we have to connect these. And yes, I mean, no, there is no access to the connectors from the top. It could have been nice if BMW gave you an access, and you can honestly you can just drill a hole here. I don't know why they just kept this. That makes no sense to me, but it is what it is. So this first connector is a bigger connector. You just feel it and it clicks in place. The small one also goes in like that. And what's left, set it like this, and now you can connect the button, the start button. So otherwise you just line up the pins in the trim with the dashboard, and you kind of have to figure out how they really go in, because you don't want to just smash it without looking, because it's all plastics and you can easily break it. And then you just basically start pushing all this in. Yeah, this button is not going to stay. Well, that wasn't a good sound. In any case, this is the emergency, the door lock and the traction system on off, and also the cold and hot for the center vent. That's why it's important to have those connected. So that's pretty much all for this dash trim replacement. I think it's fairly solid. I really never heard any noises coming from this trim, and it never fell off or anything like that. So that's pretty much all for this, except maybe for this piece. So now this left piece is basically the continuation of that center on the right side, but it's much smaller. It's just this, it's not more than that. Also has two pins and this metal clip on the side. So the removal of this is basically the same as well, the same idea, but this one I think you can just pull it with your fingers. If not, if you don't want to break your nails or something, just use the same tool and it just comes off like that. Of course you can always help and just pry it on the bottom like that, but in general, this piece being small doesn't require much of an effort, and it just comes off like that. This vent is attached with two tabs here, two tabs on the top, and I think it kind of clicks in place on these sides here, and it's easy to separate. This one is easy to separate, there's no knots or anything. Well, reinstallation is basically, again, you have this plastic, this blue thing here, there's a metal base here, and this thing, where does it go? Well, it doesn't even have a hole. This is just a recess in the dash, in the rubber. So I don't know what the idea here is, but this thing just goes in like so. You basically just push it. So this should be it for this video. Yeah, this one is not in place yet, because there's a video coming up that in which I'm going to talk about shifter knobs, like all of the options. Well, that's one of those videos that's coming out soon. And if anyone cares to have these pieces, I have pretty much all the dash and door trim, 4 for the door, 2 for the dash. I think that's all that I have, because, well, if you feel like supporting this channel and you need something like black Alcantara trim, you can just buy it, I guess, and that will go towards the channel support fund. So, and as far as Alcantara is it's all beautiful, like looks really nice, and the backside and all is all good. It's not peeling anywhere, or it's not really trying to come off. I'm using that industrial strength glue for the fabric and leather and all, that thing is just, once you apply something with that glue, you're done. You basically can, if you think something needs to be redone, if you need to redo something, you better just find a new trim piece and throw away whatever didn't work for you, because that glue is just not going to let you remove the fabric, the leather, whatever. So like I said, 6 pieces like this, and they're nice. I like it. It's just, well, like my brother said, because he's got a like a silver or something on, well, he's got an E46 ZHP, of course, ZHP Mafia. So, and these are just way too dark for everything being black. So that's just, I think this color is, I like it. It's a little bit lighter. I guess that's the whole reason. It's exactly the same fabric, but this one is a little bit lighter, as you can see, and I like it better, I guess. That's the reason why. And the other reason, like I said, this is metal, aluminum alloy, and I'm trying to make this as light, this car as light as possible, so even the trim pieces are going to matter. Because if anyone cares to remember, on E36 M3, BMW went as far as removing the radio to make that car lighter. Well, I guess lightweight version of M3 that came out in 1995. In any case, this should be it for this video.